Okay, well, I've got some shallow hot takes ready. Should we do an episode?
Yeah, we ought to. Welcome to the internet, live from my apartment in fabulous downtown Salt Lake City and an unspecified location in the Patreon Minecraft server. This is the Red Line Podcast. Presumably on like the fifth floor of the bank and loan building.
Fourth
Uh,
Probably.
floor.
No, the roof.
I'm your host.
Just
Perhaps
because
the
you hate
roof.
me
Yeah.
for with the audio.
I'm your host, quote, eats losers for breakfast, Dunstan, and these are my co-hosts.
Kyle, quote, boat rapid transit, close quote, Holland, and
Alex, quote, Brad Light and Traction Company, close quote, Fielder. Today we're talking about the transit nightmare that is the 35th South in West Valley City. Why have we failed to provide good service on one of our best transit corridors, and what should we do about it? All this after the news.
do 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 do. Shut up.
News item number one. Believe it or not, the MBTA actually has removed a slow zone.
Wow.
More than 19, I know, shocking. More than 19 slow zones were moved along the MBTA Blue Line just a few days ago, allowing for more than 3 minutes of travel time improvements. There are now less than 100 slow zones on the entire T system for the first time since early 2023, when the agency began its most recent meltdown. Hopefully, this trend will continue, and one of America's most popular subways will end up being one of its best.
You know, I love that it's so bad that they made a slow zone tracker so we can give the public updates about this stuff.
The other thing that I like is that, like, having less than 100 slow zones is considered an accomplishment.
Yeah. On tracks, I'd be concerned if we had more than just a couple.
Do we have any currently?
I don't know.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Wow, this crazy thing called
So-
maintenance. Which, speaking of,
You know,
there's going to
the
be a
entire-
2-week long bus bridge cutting the blue line in half next week.
Oh, well, I would simply just never take the blue line.
You just wait till this cuts the line that you use in half, and then it'll affect you.
Oh, poodoo, they'll never do that. Cries. It's happened to me before. Other news, so the Sausalito Golden Gate Ferry was down for a few weeks because the dock broke. And
Awkward.
it's fixed now, so that's good.
I didn't know docks could break. Aren't they made out of like a bajillion trees?
Concrete, yeah, mostly, and it just kind of broke. So
Huh.
good on them for fixing that.
Skill issue.
Honestly. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you guys should go to the UTA Ridership portal real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because Trax has been doing some insane stuff, and I want to get your opinions on it. Yeah, so it's gone up to 45,000, which is, as the kids would say, huge.
Yeah.
I see.
So maybe
Huh.
what we're seeing here is less of seasonal trends and more of a long-term increase in ridership.
Or it could just be a counting error again. You guys remember that one month in, well, the one that sticks out in May of last year where there's like double the. So I don't know. I feel suspicious of that, but I hope it's real because that would be very good news.
Could this maybe be like a housing thing where we're just getting more riders?
It could be. I hope
And
it
that-
is.
Probably.
That's just flattening the curve from university students leaving?
It's possible. I don't know. I mean, Daybreak is having a lot of new housing go in by the train. So
Also, all the other housing,
could be a
especially
thing.
downtown.
yeah, that's also true. But most of these ridership increases seem to be on the green and red lines. Like the green line is like hauling like 14,000 people a day, which I should note is like 115% of its pre-pandemic ridership. So
Nice. Now that one definitely could be housing because there's a bunch of new stuff going in on North Temple.
and also that like giant apartment building they have by Decker Lake now.
Oh yeah. So really, the blue line's the only one with stagnant housing growth.
Yeah, well, the blue line is the one that's recovering the worst. So Womp womp.
Well, I'm sticking with housing growth theory for now.
Okay, that's
But
a good
woohoo,
theory.
line
I
go
think
up.
it's fake, but
I would
Right.
love to see I wonder if they have the number of boardings for each station.
They
And
do
if
if
they
you
they
can find
do.
it.
Okay, maybe I'll play around. Maybe I can mess
Alright.
with the data, because then you should be able to see where the additional boardings are coming from.
Well, we'll catch
That
y'all
would
next time
be
with some data
righteous.
Ooh,
and some takes that are more nuanced than line go up. Even though
Yeah.
line's pretty cool.
oh, it's ArcGIS software, so it should be just on their portal.
Yep.
I'll
Good
mess
luck.
around.
Good luck.
Inshallah.
All right.
Okay, this has been the news.
Do 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 do.
Do
Wow, I don't know why I'm yawning so much today. I got like a solid 8.5 hours of sleep.
Too much sleep. That
Anyway.
must be it.
Too much sleep. I mean, that is a thing, right?
Yeah. All right. This topic definitely deserves the introduction for the listeners that don't live here and aren't massive nerds.
Yes, that's why I wrote this first section called Why Are We Talking About 35th South, also known as 3500 South if you're a heathen and a foreigner.
Yeah, that was my roundabout way of saying I'm not going to complain if you ask what is a 35th South in Salt Lake County.
Yes. So 35th and 33rd South, because they turn into one another, there's this weird curve right next to the river that it
Yeah,
just like
some-
is like, let me go north 2 blocks.
Some weird impurity in the grid. Must have not made it down from heaven correctly.
Brigham Young was like, "Oh man, there was a typo on this golden plate." But this road is very important in Salt Lake County. If you look at a map of the valley, there are a boatload of north-south transportation options, both transit and I'm gritting my teeth here, otherwise. Our 5 parallel north-south freeways. Very fun. But really and truly, there is kind of a relative dearth of good east-west options in the valley, like
Bike,
especially
train,
for
or
transit,
car.
right? Train, car, bus, or otherwise, yeah. The 3533 is basically the only bus route that does what it does and runs along the entire width of the valley, because 33rd and 35th are like just such a weirdo straight route.
Yeah, and they're a lot like State Street and other State Street-like roads, not saying which, in that they're also, 35th and 33rd are also loaded with business and commercial uses.
This is true. Unfortunately, along pretty much its entire length, it is simply a massive strode slash highway, but that's mostly beside the point for the purposes of this episode. And I do mean it when I say this. In the West Valley, it has like 3 to 4 lanes per direction and like 10 turn lanes at every intersection.
At least.
Yeah, it's kind of nasty.
And it is designated a state highway along the line.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
Like I said, much like State Street.
Even more importantly, it runs through some of the most impoverished areas in the county. West Valley City, Magna, Sosola, Mill Creek are kind of the classic inner ring suburbs, right? They have their very bougie areas, but they're also home to massive populations of working class commuters. There are simply huge residential populations and commercial properties all along the route, as well as 2 different track stations with connections into the city and to other places.
So is 35th South, is that the max?
Yes.
Is that it is? Okay.
Which is what
Yes,
UTA
I'm
I
sure we'll
wonder-
get into that more then.
Yeah.
So, UTA, believe it or not, is not stupid and actually recognizes the importance of this corridor. There's a 15-minute, which is frequent for Salt Lake, unfortunately, bus route running the entire length of the corridor. It should be noted that there are technically two bus routes, the 33 and the 35, but they through run after a brief stop at Mill Creek Tracks. So I think I'm fair in viewing them as one line. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd have to look at the schedule, but I'd imagine you'd run into a bit of a hiccup trying to cross over tracks without connecting because of that layover. But realistically, for a bus
It's
route
not
this
great.
long,
It's like 5 minutes.
yeah, but for a
Yeah.
bus route this long, you need a stop to keep on schedule and do shift changes and
This
such.
is true. This is very true. The 3335 is so important that these days it basically marks the southern limit of frequent east-west service in the Salt Lake Valley, which is fairly pathetic.
Rest in peace, pre-Frontlines bus service.
Yeah, wait, where did it used to go? Like 60th?
Something like that, way further south.
Yeah. No wonder the Blue Line isn't recovering. Wait, I wonder why the Blue Line is not recovering ridership.
We deleted all the buses.
Interesting concept. Tell me more. Yeah, it's fairly pathetic. Even 60th was fairly pathetic given that like legible east-west roads go as far south as like 146th, but I digress, right? More interestingly, UTA built an abortive attempt at a BRT route along the corridor, the fabled MAX, which stands for oh yeah, go on, Alex.
So the MAX is short for Magna Express or Metro Area Express, depending on who you ask. And it was built beginning in 2006 and opened in 2008. And it was the Salt Lake Metro Area's first BRT line.
I like to put BRT in heavy quotes here, by the way. Oh, and I just put a little note here that says stealing names from Portland, SMH, my head.
Oh, okay. I get that. Very clever. So the MAX was ran between Mill Creek Station and Magna, made 13 stops in both directions, running local around what's called the Magna Loop. It made for 45...
Yeah, so at the end of the line, right, it doesn't continue being a normal bus because they wanted to serve Magna Main Street, which is the most sad main street you ever be on. So instead of having it just go straight to the end of 35th, it does like a deviation and runs, what is it, clockwise or counterclockwise? Counterclockwise around this little loop to serve downtown Magna and such.
Which is nice.
It's
It
not
is nice.
a bad idea. But
Yeah.
it made for a 45-minute journey between Magna and Mill Creek Tracks, which isn't too bad, given that driving along the same route takes about 35 minutes without traffic. So it's pretty quick. It's a good alternative.
Yeah, it's certainly, not to foreshadow, but certainly quicker than what we've got going on now. Ha 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 ha.
Oh boy.
Yeah. The Max also had about a mile of very funky bus lanes, including a couple of stations. And why funky? A fair bit of the small dedicated roadway was single-tracked, presumably taking a cue from the contemporary Emerald Express system that was being built in Eugene.
Yeah, it's so silly. Kyle, we were looking at it the other day when we were on the 240, and it's single tracked
Well,
for no reason.
They needed it's for a reason. They needed to make room for those left turn lanes. Like, what is an intersection
my
if it doesn't
bad.
have 10 turn lanes?
Basically doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, so there's like a very real, very important reason for fucking up the busway, which is more space for cars.
Well, and the other thing about how fucked up this is that you can never run more than 15-minute service on it basically now.
Because of
if
the
you ever
single
wanted
track
to start
sections.
using the busway again, yeah. Which is nuts and silly. But
Well, the Max had like good Utah frequency of 15 minutes with strange 3-door European buses. And
yeah, it was like 100% low floor buses. They weren't like, I don't know what you would call them. They're more low floor than our normal buses, and they had a door in the back and the front, and you had to board if you were a wheelchair in the middle door, which was quite interesting, I think.
There was also a local bus, the 35, which we started off the episode talking about, that ran along the same route, making for a total of 6 buses per hour for every MAX stop, which I would love that. Logan's service has been killing me.
I imagine so. I don't think that they were evenly spaced, but there was a half-hour bus and a 15-minute bus stopping at all these stops. So, put them together, and what do you get? Theoretically, 10-minute service.
Theoretically, yeah.
I'm sure they bunched quite a bit, but...
Yeah.
Well, we know that, at least in the early days, the 35M, as it was named, pulled quite good ridership, discounting the local bus that also ran along the same route. About 4,100 people rode it daily by 2010. So...
That's like almost OGX numbers, right, Kyle?
Yeah, that's good. Especially for how little they spent on this project. Like,
It was $17 million for the whole thing, yeah.
I'm assuming that included buying buses.
It did, and they were like, I read it, so it was like, let me do the math real quick, because the buses were $410,000 each, according to KSL, and they bought 12 of them.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, $12 million for the whole thing, not bad at all, not including buses.
Yeah, and the way they were
Remind
able
me-
to pull this off is they did the road construction at the same time that UDOT was going to, redo a bunch of stuff, so they were able to save big.
Remind me how much OGX was?
130 million.
Okay,
And
and that's because it paid for the whole road, right?
Yeah, and the great part is it has almost the exact same amount of actual on-street bus lane.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, if you look on the map at where the Magna bus lanes are, or the Magna Express bus lanes are, they're not very long. They go about from West Valley Central over to one of the freeways. I forget which.
It's like a mile.
It's definitely more than a mile, but it's not very much.
No, I measured it today. I'll go back on Google Maps and measure it again.
Damn.
Let me pull the card. Okay. So, we're starting off right next to West Valley Central where the bus lanes appear from the ether. I like that they have their own little dedicated light as well.
Always
Going
smart.
through some single tracked sections.
Then we make it all the way to Bangerter, and then we're gone.
And they make it just short of Bangerter.
You're not kidding. That's just literally a mile.
Yeah, it's like a mile.
This thing's not even that good.
No. As we'll get into, how long are the OGX bus lanes? I want to check this real quick. Just to do a cost snake moment. Let's see. They go from here. Oh, they haven't updated this on the stupid Google Maps yet. That's annoying. The OGX bus lanes are like a mile and a quarter. So, we have not improved, and it costs 10 times as much.
Yeah,
I said I was going to cry about both. I'm going to cry about both of these projects now. Also, maybe getting good bus ridership isn't in, like, building big-name infrastructure. It's in good branding and good service and maybe even limited stops.
Shocking.
What a
And,
novel
like,
idea.
strategic infrastructure, maybe. Maybe.
Well, this raises the question of why are we talking about this in the past tense? And this is because the route was discontinued in August 2022 following poor pandemic ridership recovery and a desire by UTA to consolidate service. The writing was probably on the wall anyway, since Max had already and always had problems. People found it confusing, and ridership, it's implied, was not always as good as was hoped. So now we're left with only the local bus.
Yeah, I've talked to some of my friends at UTA about why the Max sort of just disappeared into the ether, right?
Yeah, who's the person we know who was actually working on the project? Did you talk to them too?
Who was that?
I don't remember. I think this is on the Red Line ride. We were talking to one of the people who helped design it. Anyways,
Oh,
continue.
I don't remember that at all. But I know that Max was not necessarily well liked at UTA headquarters because apparently people thought the stop pattern was too confusing and
I
the
will
local
give them,
bus was getting disproportionate numbers, etc., etc.
I was gonna say I will give them some points for that because they're combining a local and express service on an express corridor that's already confusing. Like, this is the only local
What do you
express bus pairing in the entire valley, right?
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it's already new. And what I mean by the express corridor being confusing is that it's got, like, this 1 mile of weird median bus lanes with median stops, which would be great if it went all the way to Magna. It does not. It stops after a bit. Then you get back to regular side of the road stops. And then West Valley's doing its own thing. You got some weird stuff going all the way back towards tracks. Yeah, so the express corridor is not consistent as it is, and throwing a local bus into the mix as well in the first express local pairing in the entire valley is maybe asking a lot.
Not a recipe for success, perhaps.
No, if they'd managed to either A, have just more local express pairings throughout the valley, so there's more existing knowledge, or B, make a comprehensible express corridor that's like consistent and that you can find. Either of those, I think, would have done it.
I think we need. So here's my. Well, I'll talk about this later. So now we have only the 35, right, and the 33, sort of.
RIP.
What exactly is wrong with them?
Well, it turns out the MAX was put there for a good bloody reason.
Yeah, the main problem is speed. A ride between Magna and West Valley Central can be as long as an hour during peak periods, and riding between the end of the 33 and the 35 is a godforsaken hour and a half trek during off-peak times,
And
right?
this is,
like no traffic.
And this is the best transportation option available.
Yeah, it does kind of show that the MAX wasn't that fast because it's like an hour during off-peak between Mill Creek and Magna, and it was 45 minutes on the MAX, but that is a substantial time improvement, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and this is sort of despite the fact that the two routes together get more than 5,000 riders, the most of any non-BRT bus route in the UTA system, including, and actually more than every other route except for UVX, I believe.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's like, what if the entire Logan Transit riders every day, twice the number of people that ride Logan Transit every day. So I did some number crunching here looking at stop data, and it turns out that a good 50+% of these riders are getting on or off at a track station on any given day. 1302 of 5,000 trips end at a track station, and 1404 of 5,000 trips begin at a track station. So presumably about 2,700 of 5,000 trips every day begin or end at a track station, which are like 40 to 60 minutes away from the end of the line on both ends, because they're both near the center of the valley.
And that makes sense with how the valley is structured. Like, most of the stuff is on, like, that center spine.
Mm-hmm. So, clearly a faster way, because if most of these people are just using this to get to and from tracks, who are riding on a daily basis, then clearly a faster way to get people to and from tracks would be a good idea, especially to the far ends of the valley.
We can have east-west transportation, too?
No.
Like, honestly, seeing how successful the Daybreak branch of the Red Line is, just as a commuter line, because it's so speed competitive, imagine having, get this, east-west transit that is both A, fast, and B, goes interesting places, unlike aforementioned branch.
Concept. So that brings the question, what should we do about it? And
Elevated
as a
tracks
Salt Lake
line.
City urbanist, my knee-jerk reaction to any transportation problem is a tracks expansion, But this would be difficult, as we all know.
Politically difficult, yes. Construction-wise, really easy.
No, it would also be difficult.
Yeah, why is that?
Because you would have to do median running.
Yeah, elevated.
For miles. Oh, yes, I see.
Which
A
might be
realistic
cheaper than...
option that has any chance of happening.
Well, the problem is it might actually be cheaper than conventional median running.
Unfortunately, you are correct, but no. So I've laid down a couple options here. Number one option, bring back Max, right?
Pretty good idea.
We could just bring it back. Like all the stuff is still there. Presumably the buses are still rotting away in like Meadowbrook UTA Service Center or something. Like let her live again.
I think, hot take, they should bring it back and survey the riders to see if that local bus is actually necessary.
The local bus is necessary.
Damn. A 30-minute frequency?
I think. I will put it at 15 too. Why not?
All right, fair enough.
Get like 8 buses an hour at every Max station. That'd be cool.
Sure.
I think my preferred option would be better Max, right? My preferred option would be to build UVX along the whole route, right? Like median running bus lanes all the way from the easternmost part of 33rd to Magna. And then, run that every, 10 minutes and run the local every 15, right? The local just runs on the street. Like this corridor has just so much ridership potential that I think even at super high frequencies on both routes, both would get just a ton of ridership.
This is an excellent idea if, and here's the very big if, there is no road widening. Because without the road widening, all this is its curb reconfiguration, its paint, it's gluing stuff to the signal poles, maybe some utilities for lighting at the new bus stops. That's it. That's cheap. But if
and
somebody shits their pants,
that would be a
and
hard
have to do
sell.
road widening.
It would be a hard sell because, 33rd up by the mountains is only 5 lanes. So,
Well, and even just the western end, west of tracks, you've seen what they want to do to the road for the Mid-Valley Connector? Like, they have God's
I
widest
know.
road. They want to put a shitty median running bus in it. And apparently, to do that, we have to widen God's widest road even more.
obviously.
So if that's the state of affairs as is, I'm unfortunately not too hopeful that we could put something like this in without a road widening.
Yeah, probably correct. But I do think that would be like the best option.
Definitely. Without the road widening.
Just from like even with some road widening.
That makes the cost go kaboom instantly.
Well, if you can get UDOT to pay for it.
Okay. So I guess that gives us two options. No road widening or road widening but UDOT pays for it so it doesn't count.
Yeah, and I mean...
Financially or morally.
Mm-hmm. Because I think that like a median running bus would just whip in terms of speed along this route because it's a really fast road.
Sure.
And there aren't that many stoplights.
Yeah, especially if you could unfuck the existing stoplights as well.
Right. Like, it would just... I think you could get it from, like... I don't know. I don't want to be, like, too optimistic here, but from Magna to Mill Creek in, like, a half hour or something. Like, crazy. Yeah. Just an hour journey for the whole road. Which would be very fast. Option number 3 is a conventional tracks extension, right? You sort of North Templeize 35th. Because I don't think you could do it on 33rd, but you could just extend the green line up along 35th.
On 35th, you could do it all the way to Bangerter. After that, it's a similar situation.
You could do it further than that.
After that, it's a similar 5-lane situation. With very little room on the sides.
The traffic out there isn't that bad, though.
So you could end the lanes there, like the Max does right now, for the same reason.
So, and then there's the thing that Kyle mentioned, which is the crazy fairy tale tracks extension.
Put it elevated. That resolves like all road issues.
Yes.
Like if you did median
That
running,
would actually...
like we just mentioned, you'd have to basically redo the entire road, redo all the curbs, gutters, drainage, widen it, because car, I guess. But if you were able to do a median running tracks train, not only would you not have to redo the entire road, every curb, every gutter, every lane, every signal, you would also... No, that was the thing. That was the list of things that you wouldn't have to do.
I mean, look, the thing about the far west valley, right, is that it is like a transportation equity problem that it takes so long to get from there to anywhere else.
1,000%.
And having a very fast train, like, because you could go 55 on this hypothetical elevated thing, so
You
it
could
would
go
be
80.
wicked fast.
It's dead straight.
No, you couldn't.
It is dead straight. You can go as fast as you want.
Yeah, but light rail vehicles can't go 80, Kyle.
Right, because somebody said they couldn't.
Exactly, because somebody said they couldn't.
I bet we could ask.
Now you're getting it.
I'm assuming we were to build this. If we were able to do it with high floor vehicles that are incompatible with tracks, I'm sure we could ask Siemens nicely for ones that go 80.
Oh, so you want to, like... Why would we build it with anything that's incompatible with tracks? It's supposed to connect up to the green line.
Ugh, fine.
I have a proposal
Yeah?
that could be feasible. We take the idea from China of having those rail buses, like bridge trains that you can drive through, that just go in between lanes.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about those.
This will cause no problems. You know what else we could build that would be a really good idea?
What?
Subway?
A Schweeb.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're talking.
The 35th South Schweeb.
That would solve all bike safety problems in the west side of the valley.
It actually would. You're
Or a
schweebing with
monorail.
your head now.
Oh, that is still our best episode, even though nobody watched it.
Yeah.
Only the real fans did.
Only the real Redline fans watched it, yeah.
So in other words,
UTA
just needs to literally do anything? Like, we kind of just listed, like,
Yeah.
all the budget tier list of things they could do. And if they did any of these, it would be good.
Yeah, there needs to be more service on this route because it's just wicked high ridership and it could get way more. And there needs to be faster service on this route because it's extremely slow and a lot of people are just going to like one or two destinations that happen to be the furthest possible away from everything else. So,
Yeah.
but whatever is done, it should be done quickly. Build more buses, build more trains. Any closing thoughts, Alex and Kyle?
One moment, I gotta check something real quick.
It does seem a little insane to me that they're doing like the Mid-Valley Connector or whatever before a BRT on 35th.
Yeah, I
but-
don't really get that one. Because, like, 35th has so
I'm
much
not
more
too
potential as a shitty BRT corridor because it's straight. The Mid-Valley Connector is so windy that speed benefit from weird BRT stuff is marginal to begin with.
Well, maybe with Biden's biggest transit budget ever, next year we can get something.
Oh,
Yeah.
inshallah.
Oh, maybe with Olympics money. But no, they would probably spend
Ooh,
Olympics
yeah,
money
Olympics
on something
money.
downtown. We always do.
Can we get like an automated elevated metro along 35th, 33rd with Olympics money, do you think?
I think that would be an excellent addition to the transit system. Like, if we were going to put one of those anywhere, that's the best place.
I think we can do a citywide Schweeb program. Yeah, but it connects
The
the
best
University of Utah to the Wells Fargo building.
Instead of a downtown streetcar, which has been floating around on the light rail plans, we could have a downtown Schweeb.
Well, what's going to be more
It's much more
timeless?
realistic.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. So the thing I was looking up is unfortunately not on 33rd, 35th. It's on 39th. I was looking at the little bike path they added on 39th by the track station. It is less than 1,000 feet long. It goes right up against the running high-speed traffic lane on one side and right up against the sidewalk on the other side, and it connects to nothing. Thank you.
It connects to nothing.
No, seriously, look at this on Google Maps by Meadowbrook. They put
Funnily enough, it's one of only like... Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
How
Google
about
Maps.
we get like tactical urbanist hackers to hack into the, what are they called? The lanes that change direction.
Oh God, those.
Yeah,
I
and we
forgot
have
about
it
those.
display for buses only.
I like that. Dude, if
We
can...
have urbanists shut down lanes for buses during busy hours.
Yeah, those super stupid...
If the DOT
Flex
can
lanes.
build
Suicide
fucking
lane
flex
things,
lanes,
yeah.
why can't we build fucking bus lanes? Like, you
'Cause
not
it doesn't
treat-
sound
Suicide
cool.
lanes, as I prefer to call them.
The real suicide lane. Center turn lanes have nothing on these. Dude, if UDOT can treat
No,
the
center
valley...
turn lane isn't a suicide lane. That's a chicken out lane.
Oh, okay. The real suicide lanes are the flex lanes. If UDOT can treat the valley like their playground for shit like this, and just has the money and apparently public support to throw around at projects like this, why can't we try out a bus project once in a while?
Because, God, that's why.
Great.
Or something. You know, it's right there in the Bible. It says, "Thou shalt not build a bus lane." Jesus 42:7. Look it up. Oh dear. Okay. So please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and to follow and leave us a rating on iTunes and /or Spotify. If you like what we do here, please consider becoming a member on Patreon. Patrons receive early access to all of our content, as well as exclusive content and occasional merch drops. Speaking of patrons, at fully elevated and automated Metro line along 33rd, 35th, we have Zach Adams, $69.69 a month. At
Connects to the green
non-automated
line.
that, generic GT. Yeah, connects to the green line. We have generic GT at $35 a month. At street running frontrunner for some reason along the entire route, we have Curtis Herring. We have Curtis Herring, Devin Zander, McKay Ransom, Mike Christensen, Phobos2390, and Tony Stuntz.
Wait, that's not actually the worst idea, because in state highway code, you know how we have some street running trains around here? If the operator of one of those street running trains uses their horn to indicate that they would like the traffic in front of them to leave the roadway, the traffic in front of them must do that as soon as physically possible.
That's so deranged, though.
Any lane's a train lane if there's a train in it. Anyways, continue.
So true.
At Schweeb across the state tier, we have $5 a month. We have Brian Smith, Christopher Whaley, DJ
Hi, Will.
Hi, Will.
Watkins, Elijah Kensler, G4, Jacob Whitecotton, who's the owner of Village in a Hill Railway, Jesse Mayo, Reluctant LA Resident, Robert P. Walsh, and that's it.
At Blue Line on 35th, for some reason, we have Alex Zykelski, LSMYOB.
It turns off at Mill Creek.
Every line is a Blue Line extension, if you try hard enough. Bradley Bondi, Ethan McDonald, Evelyn, Gavin Gratagut, Gonzo12, Jack McCoskey, Martine Hecker-Martinez, Oliver, Sam Myers, Seth, Sky Lukowski, and Zach Verstaat.
And at Green Line in its current form tier, we have Benjamin Wood, Joshua S. Horvath, and Kapil.
That is the name of the tier.
Yeah, if you want access to all the great things that being a patron includes, give us $1.
I'd say that's a pretty good trade.
That's a great trade. That that's all, folks. I'm going to stop recording now.
No, stay recording till we're off the call. Thanks.
Fine.
And start recording before you get on the call, too. Thanks.
Have either of you seen the UDOT intercity
I
bus
have not seen said
study?
I did.
Okay. You should.
Do you want to write an episode about it? Or me to write an episode about it?
Good
I
idea.
have to read it again, but it would be a good one to write about because it's kind of disappointing.
We can talk about Mustang as well and how it's less disappointing.
We can talk about how Salt Lake Express is a tier 1 intercity
tier
bus
1?
provider according to UDOT.
The best?
What does that even
presumably?
mean?
I don't know.
I would call like a tier 17 at best.
There's 2 tiers, so you don't have many choices.